Good morning once again. You're welcome to Advanced Audit and Assurance online class for Equity Professional Limited. Okay. In our last class, we're discussing Chapter 3, Rule of Professional Conduct, and we've been able to discuss the fundamental principles, right? We're also able to discuss the threat, okay? We're also able to explain look at the threat from those perspectives, that is the um, self-interest threat, self-review threat, intimidation threat, advocacy threat, and the last one, familiarity or trust threat. That was where we stopped last class before the class ended. So we are taking it off from there. Today we are looking at the safeguard and procedures. Now, what do we mean by safeguards and procedures? Now, safeguards are intended to eliminate or reduce threats to an acceptable level. So all those threats that we discussed in our last class, measures taken to reduce or to eliminate those threats to an acceptable level is known as what? Safeguard. All right. So that's what safeguard means. All right. So we're going to look at the safeguard from this perspective. We have the first one that has to do with safeguard created by the profession, legislation, or regulation. What do we mean by that? We'll look at that. Then secondly, we're going to look at safeguard within the work environment. All right. What does it mean when you talk about safeguard within the work environment? We're looking at this aspect as well. All right. So let's start. The first one is safeguard created by the profession, legislation, or regulation. What do we mean by that? So what we mean is that um, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria has put in place some measures, okay, to safeguard staff or to safeguard professionals, okay, in the practice of their profession, okay, in the practice of audit and assurance services. Some of the measures they have put in place, number one, is that they've been able to ensure there's educational training and experience requirement for entry into the profession. So before you can call yourself a chartered accountant or a professional accountant in Nigeria, right, you must have registered and passed the ICAN professional qualifying examinations, just like what you are doing right now, right? You'll have passed those examinations, you'll have been inducted, right? Then apart from you being inducted, you also need to go through the training for you to become an auditor, okay? For an assurance provider in Nigeria, you have to work in an audit firm for at least 36 months, okay? So that's part of the experience requirement, okay, for you to be able to call yourself assurance provider or an external auditor, right? Another thing they also do is that they also ensure they provide continuing professional development for their staff, for their members. So before now, right, we used to call it MCPE, mandatory continuing professional education, okay? But since the advent of COVID, right, that era of COVID 2020, 2021, we changed it. It was changed to mandatory continuing professional development because as at the time we call it MCPE, right? The institute we organize training, symposia, right? Um, different trainings, okay? When they do that, they will expect all the participants to converge in the. Can you hear me? You said what? So they will converge in a location where the facilitator will come on board and train the, the members, right? You have to converge in a place. Now, after COVID, that has been what? Expanded beyond you converging in a place. You can be anywhere in the world and receive your training. So we have virtual training. That was what gave rise to webinars. Okay. So now we're going to be having symposia. We have what? Webinars now. Okay. So training can be done via Zoom, via Google Meet, via all these virtual platforms, okay? So it can be anywhere. So rather than calling it mandatory continuing professional education, it has changed to mandatory continuing professional development. And we also have continuing professional development. Before that, I used to call it CPE. That one used to be continuing professional education, or yes, education. It has also changed to continuing professional development. So all of these are geared towards ensuring that the members, okay, ICAN members are up to date with current happenings, current trend in the accounting and auditing profession globally. Remember that last month, the new tax law, those the tax reform, the laws were passed, four of them, right? You can see that ICAN has started training their members so that they will be equipped, right, with whatever question that their clients might want to ask from them, their employers might want to ask from them. So they're already equipping their staff through various training, webinars, symposia, so that they are up to date, okay? So that when they come, it will be very sad or embarrassing when your employer or your client asks you questions on these tasks before what are the implications, and you are saying that, oh, sorry, I'll get back to you. You should have this information at hand, and that's what the institute ensures for their members. Okay. Another safeguard they also ensure is that professional standard and monitoring and disciplinary processes. So when they set standard, these are the principles you need to imbibe as an ICAN member. Okay. And anybody that falls short of that breach that process or those principles will be what? Investigated. There's the ICAN disciplinary committee, right, that sits to address some of the complaints from clients, from employees, from members of the public about the act of ICAN members. So it will be investigated, and if found to be true, such members will be what? Will be penalized, sanctioned. Okay. So you can even lead to delisting of such members. Okay. This was demonstrated in the previous administration. That was when we have Innocent Okusa as ICAN president, the first ICAN president before the Alaribe became the ICAN president. He was able to set up, or he actualized, he implemented some of these committee's recommendation, as two ICAN members were prosecuted under his tenure. One was worked in a bank, and he stole money from the bank, right? Why CCTV captured everything, and he was asked to come. He didn't show up. So what the ICAN president resolved then was that the member should be what? Delisted, and he was delisted. The second one was that he borrowed money from someone, and he did not pay on time. So when the person reported to the institute, I think he got notice, he got notified. And from that notification, he was able to pay the money before the next summer. Okay. So because he delayed, right, he was given 6 months suspension. That was the resolution from the disciplinary committee that time. You can go, these are not information, this is not an information that is hidden. If you go to the search engines, you can see some of these footages of some of these decisions or resolutions that were made in this regard. Okay. And also another thing they also do, this also does, is that we have external review of a firm's quality control system by a legally empowered third party of the report, okay, returns, communication, and information provided, produced by child accountant. So we have sometimes some other audit firms, we go on review, they go and check whether the audit firms are in tandem with the guidelines instituted or, communicated by the institute, all right? Another thing that's also forms part of this safeguard, right, for the professional legislation and regulation is corporate governance regulation. You know, corporate governance, we talk about it in chapter 2, right? It has to do with ensuring that the organization, a company, is being properly controlled and directed by rules and regulation, policies and guidelines, right? And if you go to the code of corporate governance, there are what do we call it? Their responsibilities, their individuals that are assigned some of these this task, okay? For instance, corporate governance, you have three main players. You have the auditors, external auditors, you have the audit committee, and you have the those charged with governance, that is the board of directors and the executive management. All of these people, they have their responsibilities, and the responsibility of the auditors in line with code of corporate governance as contained in that code or even as enshrined in CAMA 2020 as amended is that the auditor, external auditor, is to ensure that the financial statement is prepared in line with applicable financial regulation. That is one. The number two, that whatever report that the auditor issues is what is appropriate. That is those are the main responsibilities of the auditor, okay, in that regard. So those are the safeguards created by the profession, legislation, or regulation. We go to the second safeguard. The second safeguard talks about safeguard within the work environment. And this is not limited to what we have here, just some of them we have here. One of the safeguards in this line is that when the assurance client management appoints the firm, persons other than management ratify or approve the appointment. So what that means is that if you go back to chapter 2, when we look at the regulatory environment, right, where it is clear that in CAMA, the auditor, the external auditor, the external auditor can be appointed by two people, right? Can be appointed by either the board of directors or can be appointed by the shareholders. So where it's appointed by the board of directors, right? The shareholders will normally ratify such appointments. So they will appoint, the board of directors will appoint, where the shareholders will do what? Will ratify the appointments, okay? So that's a safeguard. Number two, the assurance client has competent employees to take managerial decisions. So another safeguard is that to ensure that the professional accountant is not exposed to those threats that we discussed earlier. For instance, intimidation. If the clients management they have employed competent hands, there will not be need for you to say that the external auditor should not issue a qualified opinion, right? Because they will have given all necessary information, they will have provided all necessary information to the professional accountant, general accountant that is examining the financial statement. So the issue of giving qualified opinion, and when you issue qualified opinion, usually as a result of what? Limitation of scope, or where there is what? Where there are misstatements. So if competent people have been employed or they are involved in the management, definitely the auditor will not have any issue whatsoever to issue a qualified audit opinion, right? That's another safeguard. Number three, policies and procedures that emphasize the assurance client commitment to fair financial reporting. No, remember we talk about internal control. We'll talk about it later on the subsequent chapter. Internal control over financial reporting. It is the responsibility of the management and those charged with governance, right, to ensure that they put in place a sound internal control system. All right, so internal control system, if it's effective, if it's there, right, it's going to make financial reporting to be seamless, okay? Because, for instance, if you have a weak internal control, is going to rub on the financial reporting aspect of the business. So it is not the duty of the child accountant or the professional accountant to get this done. This duty and responsibility lies with those charged with governance. That is the board of directors and the executive management. Okay. Another thing they also need to serve as a safeguard under this category is the fact that internal procedures that ensure objective choices in commissioning non-assurance engagement. So there should be procedures in place. Okay, there should be policies, there should be standard operating procedures in place that governs the day-to-day running of the business. Okay, you want to do anything in finance and accounts, there should be SOP in that regard. HR and admin, there should be SOP in that regard. Facility management, there should be SOP in that regard, right? Operations, business development, sales and marketing, all of these functional departments, they should be governed by SOP, standard operating procedure, that should guide their day-to-day activities. And more importantly, there should be a corporate governance structure. There should be an organogram. There should be lines of reporting, right? within the organization? Who takes what decision? What is the level of authority given to some levels, some staff in certain cadre within the organization? All of these are measures that are put in place or that ensures that the auditor or child accountant or professional accountant is not painted in bad light, is not faced with all those threats, self-review, self-interest, intimidation, advocacy, and familiarization. If all of these things are put in place within the work environment of the client. All right. I hope that is clear. Then we also have some other safeguards, okay, that will also help to ensure that these threats are reduced to the barest minimum, okay. So the long-standing rules of professional conduct for members of which these guidance form part where appropriate. These rules impose specific prohibition where the threats to the auditors of your TV is so significant or is generally perceived to be so that no other appropriate safeguard will be effective. What we are saying here is that the institute also ensures that all what the conduct of each professional accountant in their public or private activities are in order and in line with the set out objectives or guidance by the institute. Where they fall short, where they breach any of these processes, right, they'll face the investigating panel and disciplinary tribunal where their issues has been reported and decisive actions will be taken on them. All right. Then the reinforcement given to the above safeguard by the policing system, which reacts to complaints, whether by members of the public, all of these have been explained. I talked about the need for public to make complaints to the institute where any of ICAN members have erred or have gone contrary to the established code of conduct. Okay, we'll talk about that. So all of these are some of the safeguards that needs to, once implemented, it will also help to strengthen the independence, objectivity of the child accountant, professional accountant, or external auditor. Then there's another layer of safeguard, okay, that can also be utilized, and that is we call it ethical conflict resolution. Now, the ethical conflict resolution, like I said, was in the old syllabus, in 2019 syllabus, right? Now, when we had the 2021 syllabus, it was removed. Now, in 2025 syllabus, it has been added. It has been added. So, hence, we are talking about. So, it's been added to the 2025 ICAN syllabus, the revised syllabus, and that's why we are talking about it here. Now, this is another level of safeguard, okay, that have been put in place for the child accountant, professional accountant, or external auditors in their uh, assigned responsibilities when performing their assigned responsibilities. And under this ethical conflict resolution, what we have here is that when any of these fundamental principles has been breached, right, there are procedures that must be followed. What are those procedures? Those procedures are highlighted here. There are 5 procedures when you want to resolve those issues that the child accountant, professional accountant, or external auditors encounter, right, when they are performing their assigned responsibilities. When there is a breach or there is a conflict, right, while performing their assigned responsibilities, the first thing they need to do in that ethical conflict resolution is first of all establish the relevant fact. So for instance, you want to audit a client and the client is not forthcoming with necessary information, or the client management tries to bully the child accountant, external auditors, or professional accountants. In that regard, you need to establish the fact. What is the main issue? Why is it not, what is it supposed to provide? For instance, it's supposed to provide you with access to all accounting information. It's not giving you that access. It's supposed to give you access to the person that prepares the financial statement. It's not giving you access. It's supposed to give you access to other information that will make your audit to be effective and efficient. That information was not provided, right? All what you need that will ease your audit engagement were not provided. So in that instance, you have to state the fact. You shouldn't state that he's bullying you. Bullying could be an added information, but you have to be critical. You have to be specific to what and what he did not provide. That's what we mean by stating the relevant fact. Okay. Now, after you have stated the relevant fact, we are still using this case study now that the client management bullies or did not cooperate with the auditor or child accountant or professional accountant. The second stage is to look at the issues. What are the ethical issues involved? What are the ethical issues involved? You can look at independence. Is the management, the board of directors or the management, what are the things they did? For instance, are they competent in terms of looking at the ethical issues? Are they competent, or are they trying to bribe you? Are they trying to win you to their side through intimidation, or are they trying to win you to their side by what? By giving you bribes. All of these are ethical issues that you need to bring on board. Are they showing commitment to rendering service or support to you? These are some of the ethical issues you have to explain in that regard. Then when you have the next thing you need to now look at is what are the fundamental principles that has been breached. Now look at the fundamental principles, and you are going to look at those 7 fundamental principles: independence, integrity, conflict of interest. All of those principles, you have to be able to relate with one that they have reached on that particular case study. So in the case of where they are bullying you now, what we could see there is that number one, there could be issues of what? Integrity. Because for them to bully you means that there is something they are hiding that they don't want you to know. So it could be a matter of what? Integrity. Right? It could be a matter of what? Objectivity as well, because they know that if they give you that information, you will want to ask for further you want to conduct further audit procedure to ascertain the objectivity of that information that is being presented to you. You understand what I'm saying? So all of this will come under the fundamental principles that relates to that particular question. Now, the next thing you need to look at is looking at the way they bully, the word bullying by those child governance, that is the board of directors and the executive management. You need to ask, do they have any structure in place? For instance, when such matter happened, who did the external auditor escalate the matter to? Did they escalate the matter? Is there like a board of directors, or do you have like audit committee, right? Do you have any committee set up to address such grievances? Those are what we mean by what? Establish internal procedures. Okay, do they have whistleblowing policies? Okay, that you can explore, even if you don't want to, you want to be anonymous. Is there a whistleblowing policy? Okay, that ensures that all of these things are being properly documented, right? Then the last one is that after you have been able to address all of these issues, what are the alternative courses of action? What other measures can you take to resolving this issue? Is it the fact that you need to have a meeting with after you have reported, the board of directors and the executive management call for a meeting where you are present, and they wanted to address the issue and see if the issue or the matter can be resolved, right? You need to be able to look at that. Or is it the fact that, oh, this issue has gone beyond that matter? In fact, it's a threat to life. So in that instance, you might need to consult your legal counsel and ask whether it is time for you to what? To resign, okay, from the engagement or not. So all of these will form part of the alternative courses of action that you have. Okay, so before you go to the alternative course of action, you must have explored all the other options that you have ahead. You'll be able to state the relevant fact. You must have been able to deal with the ethical issues involved. You must have been able to describe fundamental principles that relates to that particular matter. Then you're able to, establish that they have internal procedures to address these things, or they don't have, before you now think of the alternative courses of action. That is the process. You shouldn't jump any of these processes. We call it ethical conflict resolution. You need to go by these processes. That is the way it is arranged. That is the way you need to address it. Once you are able to go through these processes, and it boils down to the fact that you have to resign your appointment based on the counsel of your legal team, right? Then that means you have to make the resignation known, okay, to the appropriate authority. So that is what we discuss in that area. Any question? So with this, we are done with chapter 3. Any question, any comment, any observation before we proceed to the next chapter? Thank you. Is there any question, comment, observation?
Sir,
Please
sir,
go, please go
good
ahead.
morning, sir. Yes, sir, good
Good
morning,
morning.
sir.
Please go
Yes,
ahead.
sir. Please, I want to ask you this, this your textbook. When are we expecting it, sir?
Which textbook?
The one you are using, this study
It's
pack
been
you are
shared
using,
now.
sir. It's
It's
been
been shared on
shared.
the platform.
I don't think I have it. I'm trying to check. I don't think so, sir.
Hello,
Maybe you
class.
can
Have
help
you
us
received
be sure,
copies
sir.
of this material? I'm asking the class now to be sure that I've shared it.
Yes, I just downloaded mine when the lecture
It has been
started. So
shared.
check the group.
You can see Mr. Michael. You will not be checking your chat. Hmm?
I think it has been
Mr.
shared in the audit group, not the main chat.
Which audit group?
The audit FM.
Okay, sir. I can see it, sir. Thank you, sir.
Mm.
Yeah. Thank you. Any other question? Any other question? Comment? Observation? Everybody is fine. Okay, let's go on. Let's go to the next chapter. Now, remember I said that we
Hello.
have another. Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, I have a question. Like when you mentioned the case of being bullied and not getting the necessary information you have. So what if this
Yes.
is coming from the company's accountant to the auditor?
Company's
As in,
accountant.
yes, like
The
an
client
external audit.
accountant, right?
Yes.
So it is coming from the company's accountant. So where do you think the company's accountant sits? It's part of the management now, is it not?
Yeah.
It's part of the management. So it means that the management is not cooperating. So that means you need to follow those procedures that I made mention, ethical procedure, ethical conflict resolution procedures.
Okay. Thank you.
Do you understand? Have I been able to answer your question?
Hello, sir.
Madam Maumi, have I
Hello,
answered
sir.
your
Good afternoon,
question?
ma.
Yes, you have. Thanks.
Madam Christiana, I'm with you. Good afternoon. Good morning. It's not yet afternoon, it's morning. I
Yes,
can hear
sir.
you.
Please, sir, can you just brush through the ethical procedures
Which
briefly?
ethical procedures?
The one you said you made mention of.
Please, let's be saying things the way it's supposed to be. It's ethical conflict resolution, not ethical procedures. So, ethical
Okay.
conflict resolution. Please, so because when I write ethical procedures in exam, they will not understand what you are trying to say. Look at it here. It's ethical
Okay.
conflict resolution.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir.
So, is there any other aside from that one, any other area again?
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay. So let me just explain again. What I said is that you have another level of safeguard, right? That the child accountant, professional accountant, or external auditor can access or can utilize is the use of what we call ethical conflict resolution. All right. Now, this is a step-by-step procedure towards resolving any issue that may arise as a result of the engagement. Okay. Now, and you have to go step by step. So what do you do? The first you need to do, and I gave an instance of bullying. Bullying here means that the management or those kind of governors do not want to cooperate, okay, with the external auditor, with the child accountant, or with professional accountant. What should you do? Now, bullying is an act, right? They have committed an act that they are bullying you. But beyond bullying, you need to be able to establish what are those things that resulted in bullying. So it could be that If you go back to chapter 2, when we talk about the responsibilities of the management, so do what? You need to provide all the information necessary to understand the financial statements. They did not provide that information. They need to give access, unrestricted access to all the books of accounts. That was not done. Right? They need to give access to the persons responsible for the preparation of the financial statement. That was not also done. So aside from you talking about bullying, you need to be able to establish the facts, right? You need to be able to establish the facts. What are the facts? The facts are that this information, all of these responsibilities that were supposed to have been done or performed by the management or board of directors were not done. And that was what resulted in the bullying. Okay. Then number two, you need to ask what are those ethical issues that were involved. So for instance, they bully you to the fact that maybe because they wanted you to cooperate, there is a fraud they are trying to hide or try to bury. They wanted you to cooperate. Maybe they wanted you to, they want to incite you. They want to give you maybe some amount as bribe. Okay. Or you have turned down the offer. That could be what necessitated the bully. You need to be able to state the ethical issues involved. Then the next thing you need to do is that, okay, aside from this bullying, what are those fundamental principles that you feel has been what? Has been compromised? Those fundamental principles are the 7 fundamental principles that we discussed earlier on in chapter 3. The objectivity, integrity, conflict of interest, professional competence and due care, all of that, right? You need to be able to explain how each of these principles, any of these principles that has been breached, affected or contributed to that conflict that has happened. You need to be able to establish that. Then the next thing you need to also do is that, okay, now since you have established those fundamental principles, you need to also ask, are there any form of structures in place that could have taken ownership or taken control or try to resolving those conflicts? For instance, if you have an audit committee in the organization, or perhaps you have the board that is listening, maybe what happened was between you and the executive management. When you escalated the matter to the board, did they take any action? All right. So that will form the established internal procedures that they have put in place. Okay. Then lastly, if you have been able to utilize all of these other steps, you're able to state your fact, you're able to identify the ethical issues involved, you're able to, state and explain those fundamental principles that you can relate to this particular case study, and you're able to establish that there are internal procedures or there are no internal procedures. The next line of action is for you to now seek alternative courses of action. So that alternative courses of action will depend on the outcome of these 4 initial procedures or steps that have been taken. So your alternative course of action will be as a result of the fact that nobody is forthcoming, right, with help, and time is going. So as an alternative course of action could be that, okay, you have all of these issues, you have discussed with your counsel, your lawyer, what should you do? Should you resign this appointment or should you qualify the audit opinion? All of this will be in the alternative courses of action. So those are the procedures. And like I said, you cannot jump any of these procedures. It has to be in this order. That's what I said. I hope it's clear now. Madam, are we cleared?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
All right. Any other question? Okay, I want to believe that everybody is fine. So, I said in last class, you have a new facilitator, right? That will be taking us or taking you tomorrow. So the facilitator we handle chapter 4, right? I will go on to chapter 5 now. So I'm going to skip chapter 4. I'm going to what? Chapter 5. Chapter 5 is about what? Practice management. Now, chapter 5, there were some additions in the new syllabus to chapter 5. So some of those updates that some of us were asking or have been asking me, which I said that if we get to those chapters, I'm going to highlight those areas that are affected. Some of them are contained in this chapter 5. Okay? Now, chapter 5 is our practice management. What do we mean by practice management? Now, I need to clarify. It's not everybody. Okay, Minister of Finance, ask your question.
Okay, so sir, from chapter 1 to chapter 3 that you've taken us so far,
Yes,
there's no addition to that, to those chapters. It's just as it is before now.
there's no addition to those chapters. Yes,
Okay.
is that all? Is that a question, Minister of Finance? Am I able to answer your question?
Yes, sir. I wanted to be sure that there's nothing we've skipped from the previous chapter, or there's something new that you've
No, we
answered
didn't
it, sir.
skip anything. Yeah, okay, all right.
Thank you so much.
So, all right. So what we are saying in chapter 5 is that why is it important? Now, I need to clearly state is that not every one of us will have the privilege to work in an audit firm. All right. Why am I saying this? This chapter 5 addresses what are obtainable or what is obtainable in an audit firm. So not everyone will have the privilege to work in an audit firm, but that does not mean that you won't have an understanding of what is obtainable in an audit firm. So this chapter explains what occurs, what activities, what processes, what procedures occur in an audit firm. All right. So that is what this chapter is talking about. Hence, we talk about what? Practice management. Now, in this chapter, before now, for those that have used have used other materials of ICAN for last diet and previous diet. What you have there is ISA 220 that talks about quality control. You have ISQC number 1 that talks about quality control within an audit firm. Now, that ISQC number 1 has been replaced with ISQM number 1. I hope you are getting it. ISQM number 1 is the new auditing standard for chapter 5. ISA 220 has also been revised in chapter 5. Then we have another one, ISQM number 2. So ISQM number 1 and ISQM number 2, we are going to look at them subsequently. That is in this chapter. But we are going to start, we need to have an understanding of what this chapter is all about before we dive in proper. All right. Like I said, we get to some of those areas I'm going to show us as we proceed. Now, this chapter, we need to also make some definition of some terms. I explained when we started this class originally that some of our audit terminologies, vocabularies needs to be what? Needs to be updated. Those that you need to unlearn, that you need to remove from your system, from your memory, you need to start debugging them now. Then you need to relearn, means that you have to take up new terminologies. You need to add it to your audit vocabulary so that when you are writing, when you are presenting your answer or solution in an examination, you'll be speaking the language of an auditor. And like I said, one of the key areas, one of the pitfalls of students writing AAA is that they just speak as though they are communicating with their colleagues or with their friend. And that is one of the reasons why we always have poor performance in AAA. The examiner expects you to speak like or as a professional, not to speak like somebody that is just speaking for speaking sake. You must speak as a professional accountant, a card accountant, or an external auditor. So you have to speak in that, you have to communicate in that order. So if you don't communicate in that order, there could be some of the reasons why some students have challenges with AAA. So to add to your vocabulary, these ones have been identified. We have the engagement partner. So in an audit firm, you have engagement partners. Who are engagement partners or who is an engagement partner? This is a partner in the firm that is responsible for the audit engagement and its performance. Okay, and is also responsible for the auditor's report that is issued on behalf of the firm. Okay, who are or were required as the appropriate authority from the professional, legal, and regulatory body. So when an engagement is being conducted, that person, that audit individual, that audit staff that leads the audit engagement or assurance engagement is known as what? The engagement partner. Okay, is responsible for that particular engagement and also responsible for the audit report that will be generated or that will be prepared or that will be issued at the end of the engagement. And remember that as he's issuing that audit report, he's issuing that report on behalf of the firm. So that audit report represents the audit firm's report about the engagement. So in an audit firm, you have several engagement partners. It's not one, there are several. Okay? The next terminology is engagement quality review. Now, if you look at, for those that are familiar with the old syllabus, what we normally call this, we call it engagement quality control review. That's what we used to call it. It has changed because the ISA 220 has been reviewed. So what we now have is what? Engagement quality review. Now, the engagement quality review is a process designed to provide an objective evaluation on or before the date of the audit report of a significant judgment the engagement team made and the conclusion is reached in forming the auditor's report. Okay? The engagement quality review process is for audit of financial statement of listed entities and other audit engagements, if any, for which the firm has determined an engagement quality review is required. Okay? So what am I saying in essence here? Now, the engagement quality review process will take place after the audit engagement team have concluded their engagement. They have compiled their audit reports. So the engagement quality review will now take place. Mind you, the engagement quality review is not for every audit engagement. It's simply for engagements that are for what? That are for listed entities. That is clients that are what? PLCs. Why do we need it for the PLC? The reason is that in a PLC, you have different interests. You have the minority, you have the controlling interest, and you have the majority shareholders, right? So all of these interests needs to be what? Protected. So they need somebody that is independent because this process, right, is an independent process. It's done outside the engagement itself. It is done after the. So what needs to be done is that before the audit report is dated and signed, this process will be performed or will be conducted. And the person that is going to perform this engagement is known as what? Engagement quality reviewer. If you look at the last syllabus, what we call the person is the engagement quality control reviewer. It is not the case with this new syllabus. This is now engagement quality reviewer. So this is a partner. So in the Big Four, you have this person domiciled within the firm, within the audit firm. But outside the Big Four, the small, medium audit firm, they need to engage this person. They need to outsource this person. He needs to come from another audit firm to perform this process or this review. Okay, so this is a partner other than other persons in the firm, suitably qualified, external person, or a team made up of such individuals, none of whom is part of the engagement team, with sufficient and appropriate experience and authority to objectively evaluate the significant judgment the engagement team made and the conclusions it reached in formulating the auditor's opinion, auditor's report. What we are saying here is this. I explained when we started this class that audit is what is scientific. Hence, we have the audit procedures. If you have in science, right, we are performing a science research or scientific research, you have to go with the procedures. If you go by the procedures, you're going to arrive at the same conclusion. Same thing with what? Audit. There are audit procedures. If you go by the audit procedures, you obtain the same conclusion. Okay? So this reviewer will look at all the audit working papers as well as the auditor's report and the opinion that has been issued. So at the end of the day, he's supposed to arrive at the same conclusion as the engagement partner. Okay? But sometimes it does not happen. So the essence of this quality control reviewer is to ensure that the audit firm is not exposed in any way to any form of what? Professional negligence or liability. Liability means that they did not do the needful. So the client now sue them for what? For negligence. So they will suffer liability. So the essence of this is to ensure that any form of liability or exposure of the audit firm to any form of liability is ruled out, because it's another level of what? Check or review of the work done by the engagement partner. It's another layer of control, another layer of risk assessment. You understand? So that's and like I said, this person is independent of the engagement team. He's not part of the engagement team. Usually outside the engagement team. That's where their independence matters. Their independence what? Matters. Okay? Their independence matters, right? So that is another terminology. Another terminology we also need to get acquainted with is what? The engagement team. Now, the engagement team is made up of the engagement partner, audit manager, audit senior, audit trainee, and audit intern, excluding the expert. Expert is not part of the engagement team. I explained to us who an expert is, right? In chapter 1, a practitioner. And I said that an expert is someone, according to ISA 620, that has competence in other fields outside accounting and auditing, right? So it does not form part. So all those people, surveyors, architects, engineers, these are even consultants, IT consultants, all of these people, they are experts in their own right. So they do not form part of the engagement team. I hope it's clear. Then we have the next one, which is not here, is the managing partner or managing partners. As you have chief executive officers in organizations, managing directors in organizations, right? We don't call them chief executive officer in an audit firm. The person or the persons that manage or manages the audit firm, we refer to them as what? Managing partners, if you are more than one, or managing partners, or managing partner if it's just one person. Okay? So the likes of the big four, S and Young, KPMG, PwC, Deloitte and Touche, they will have managing partners. I hope that is clear. But the likes of Adebayo Desalo and Co, we have just one managing partner. I hope it is clear. Any question before we dive in? Any question? Any comment? Any observation? Minister of
I
Finance,
want
ask
to
your
ask.
questions.
The managing partner, are they on the auditor side or on the management side?
What are we looking at, sir?
The quality control.
What are we looking at? When I started, what did you say we are looking at?
You were defining the terms that are used
Hmm.
constantly in
Before I
practice
started,
management.
before defining the terms, what did I say about practice management?
I didn't get that part.
That means you are not following when I stated it. Because if that's why I asked that question. If you had paid attention or if you had followed me from the onslaught, you would have seen that I said that we are looking at what is available in an audit firm. Audit firm. So the managing partner I'm making reference, when I explained managing partner, I said that these are the people that manage or manages the audit firm. So that is clear now. I hope it is clear. I hope your question is answered now.
Thank you, sir.
Right. Somebody asked a question. I should explain engagement partner. Now, the engagement partner is that audit staff that is in charge or responsible for an audit engagement. Is responsible for what? An audit engagement. So at the end of the engagement, is going to issue an audit report. Okay? He issued that audit report on behalf of the what? On behalf of the audit firm. So everything that happens within that for that engagement is solely responsible. I hope that is clear. Madam Charity. Any other question before we proceed? I want us to follow. That's why I said that this class is interactive. It's not a one-man show. That's why I always ask questions before, because you can see that I'm supposed to have gone, just continue reading or continue explanation. But you see that I pause intermittently to be sure that everybody is following. The essence is not for you to just have attended this class. It's for you to have understood. So that when you are reading the material again on your own, it's going to another form of understanding will be what? Will be responsible, will be what? Would have been established, okay, or achieved. That is the essence. So that is why I asked that question. So no other question? Madam Charity, are we cleared? Can we continue? Please respond though, so that we know that everybody is being carried along. I don't want to leave anyone behind because we are moving fast now. Any question, comment, observation? Okay. All right, so let's continue. Now, like I said, we are looking at practice management, quality control. All right. So somebody is asking a question. I didn't see that. List the engagement team again. I think this person just joined us. Engagement team is made up of engagement partner, audit manager, audit senior, audit intern, audit training, excluding the experts. Can I see it here? All partners and staff performing the engagement and any individual engaged by the firm or network of firm who perform the audit procedure on the engagement. This exclude, you can see, this exclude an auditor's external experts engaged by the firm or network of firm. You can see that what I just said, just to summarize everything, you can see it's there. I hope we are together now. Please respond though. Are we together, Madam Augusta? Is it clear now?
Yes, I've gotten it. Yes,
All
thank
right.
you.
All right. So let's continue. Now, what do you stand to benefit when you have a good, like I said, we are looking at ensuring that everything within the audit firm is what is stable. Number one, greater competitiveness and client retention. What does that mean? What that implies is that what's the essence of competition? Competition is to ensure that you are always at your best performance. When you say you are in competition with somebody, when you are competing with somebody, you are ensuring that you are in best performance, right? So what we mean by that is that you go to the big four, go to the second tier audit firms, go to the small medium audit firms, right? You agree or you agree with me that all of these audit firms they have uh, quality, similar system of quality management. So what am I saying? So if you choose to go to the big four, or choose to go to the second tier, or choose to go to the small medium audit firm, it will be as a result of what? Preference, not as a result of what? Quality management. It should be as a result of what? Preference. For instance, if you're a multinational or a listed entity, it is more advisable to utilize the big four. Why? Because your business is like global. So you want to usually by any stakeholder in your business. Is rest assured that the auditor that they are utilizing is the audit firm that is what that has a global touch. Okay, it has what a global touch. It has that international exposure because a PLC attracts investors, whether local investors or foreign investors. So if you have an investor coming from foreign, you want to see that you demonstrate or you have high level of what, high level of exposure on the part of your audit firm. But for a small medium, for a small medium enterprise, unless what do you call it now? You just want that facade, right? You are okay with a small, medium audit firm. In fact, by the time the Big Four send their bill to you as the audit fee, you see that you're not able to pay, you're not able to afford it. So it's better for you to stick to a small, medium audit firm. In that, as you grow, as you expand your business, you can scale up to whether the second tier audit firm or to scale up to the Big Four. So what we are saying here is that there are no reasons for you to do what? To cross carpet, to change your audit firm. Because if you go to any of the audit firm in that category that I've mentioned, you are going to obtain the same quality management. Okay? So what that means is that client retention is assured. Number two, superior risk management in terms of issuance of incorrect audit opinion or being sued for negligence. Because of the engagement quality review process that is in place, is a risk assessment procedure or is a risk assessment process that ensures that any form of negligence or liability that could come upon the audit firm would have been dealt with upon or during the engagement quality review. Hope you are getting it. The number three, you have more informed decision making. What does that mean? Every member of the engagement team make decision for the engagement partner. I take again. Every member of the engagement team make decision for the what engagement partner because the assigned tasks that they have been given, they have to decide on it. They have to write a report on it. They have to express an opinion on it. And this report, this conclusion, this opinion are what the engagement partner will harmonize to form his own audit opinion at the end of the engagement. So decision making is part of it. Another thing that you also see is that enhanced firm culture and internal communication. What do we mean by that? So in an audit firm, they have a culture, how they go about their things, their activities. And before they set out for any audit engagement, they ensure that the engagement team is properly briefed. And that is why, if you are very observant, when examinators come to your organization, it will be very difficult for you to identify the weakest link among them, or someone that has little or no experience. It will be very, very difficult for you to identify. Why? Before they step out of the audit firm, they are already giving them all necessary information to guide them in the conduct of the engagement. So everybody is acting professionally. Then on the next one, stronger sense of accountability and inclusiveness. Like I said, in each engagement team is made up of different audit staff. Each of those people, they are going to give an account of the task they have been assigned to do. The audit manager will be given a task, is going to present his report. Audit senior will be given his task and is going to present his report. Likewise, the audit intern and audit trainee, all of them will be assigned tasks and they expect to what? To be accountable. By doing this, what is assured is what? Inclusiveness. Everybody feels a sense of what? Belonging. Then the next advantage is that greater adaptability and preparedness. What that means is that if you work in an audit firm, from time to time, you know what it takes in any engagement. You know what are the things they need to do in any engagement. So that means you're already prepared. Before you set out, you know what to do. All right? Then another thing you also see is that if you have a good quality management in place, right, you ensure that you always recruit the competent staff. Okay, and when you recruit the competent staff, you are very certain that you're going to retain them. Why will you retain them? Because they have the sense of belonging. They feel they are part of a team. They feel they are part of the bigger organization, the audit firm. So because of that sense of belonging, their morale is what always boosted. And when you don't have labor turnover in your audit firm, what does that translate to? It translates to what? Increased profitability. Because there's a cost that is attached to what? Recruitment. Talking about poaching, talking about consulting, talking about placing adverts, talking about setting and fixing salary. All of these are tied to what? Cost. But when this cost is not there, has been avoided, automatically is going to lead to what? Increased profitability for the audit firm. I hope that is clear. Any question? Now, where you don't have a good quality management in place, what are those things you are going to face? Number one, there's going to be legal damages and legal costs, because that means that you are not doing things the way it's supposed to be done. Your client will sue for what? Negligence and what? Liability. And when they sue for negligence and liability, as an audit firm, you need to start considering hiring what? Lawyers. When you hire lawyers, you have to pay them legal fees, and you are going to pay for damage as well. Then another thing that you also face when you have poor quality management is that loss of clients. So your clients, because of the damages, because of the legal costs, all of these things, you start losing your clients. Clients will not want to associate with your audit firm any longer. As a result of what? And this will lead to what we call adverse publicity and reputational damage. It will lead to what? Adverse publicity and what? Reputational damage. One of the risks that is difficult to mend or to correct is reputational risk. Once it's damaged, it takes a very long time before you can what? You can remedy it. Then lastly, because of all of these things, the institute will call on the audit firm. They will start investigation. And if the audit firm is found wanting of not doing the right thing or not putting in place a system of quality control, then there will be sanction. The sanction could range from being fined or being delisted or ultimately being practice license being withdrawn. All right. So those are the consequences when you have poor quality management or poor system of quality management. I hope that is clear. So, any question before we proceed? Any question? Any comment? Any observation? Are we good? Please respond though, so I know that I'm talking to people. I'm talking to professionals. Any question, comment, observation?
I'm good.
All right, I'll take that. I'll take that. Good. Okay. Okay. Thanks, everybody's fine. So we can continue. Thank you. All right. Okay. So let's continue. So let's go on to the next one. Quality system of quality control. We call it quality control procedures. So there are two quality control procedures, right? You have the first one that has to do with each individual audit engagement, and you have the second one that leads to what? The audit firm as a whole. Each individual audit engagement, that's the first one. The second one is what? The audit firm as a whole. Let's look at them one after the other. The first one, each individual audit engagement. Now, for each individual audit engagement, the relevant auditing standard is ISA 220 revised. ISA 220 revised. What does it state? Now, this standard states that for each engagement, it must be handled by an engagement partner. And the engagement partner is responsible for putting in place a good system of what? Quality management for that particular engagement. That is, it will be responsible for ensuring that the relevant ethical I'm too fast.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Especially for some of us that are writing.
You are writing. You are going to have this material now. You are going to have this recording now.
It's not everything that is inside the material.
Oh, you don't understand. You are going to have this recording. The lecture is recorded.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, I'm with you.
Excuse me, sir. Yes, sir.
Please go ahead.
Okay. I mean, it will be uploaded. I mean, for instance, but will I be able to book? I mean, go back to it, sir. Sure, you understand me?
You be able to do it.
Now, all I'm asking is that, share, are you sure that I'll be able to go back to this class, sir? So,
How am I
if I
sure?
want to write now, yes, sir. So, if I want to write now, please, sir, allow me to write. Do you understand me, sir?
I'm not saying you should not write to. What I'm saying here is that you say I'm too fast. How fast? I'm not. Okay, no problem.
So please just
I
a
understand
step
what you are saying.
down.
You
Uh-huh.
said,
Just a step down. Like reduce the tempo somehow.
the tempo.
Anyhow, like just reduce the speed more.
The tempo now. That's the tempo now.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, no problem. It's cleared. But everybody's following me, right? Uh, Clarity, Informer, I'm with you. I can see your hands up.
Can you hear me? That's sir.
I'm with you. Your question.
It's not like it's a comment. You know,
I can barely hear you. You are using bedroom voice. So
sorry, sir.
Hear me now.
yes, ask your question.
So it's not a question, it's a comment. In as much as the
Okay.
class is going to be posted, some of
Mm,
us are in a very tight corner that we might not be able to revisit the class for that 2 hours and jot down things. Actually, you've been great, like to compare to other lecturers. You've been doing so well, but if you could step down a little bit, that's what we're begging for. Thank you.
all right. Thank you. Your observation, your comments, everything has been noted. Is taken on board. I'll slow down. Okay, I'll slow down now. So as I was saying, right, I said there are two. Mr. Emmanuel, you want to say something? Mr. Emmanuel, you want to say something?
No, I'm not saying anything. I'm not
Please
saying
mute your
anything.
mic. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So as I was saying, I said there are two quality control procedures, right? There are two of them. You have the first one, each individual audit engagement, and you have the second one, the audit firm as a whole. Now, the first one, each individual audit engagement, the relevant standard is ISA 220 reviewed. ISA 220 reviewed. So that one means you are looking at what? Quality control in an audit, or you say quality management in an audit or financial statement. That is the standard. Quality management in an audit or financial statement. That is the standard, okay? So what do we mean? Now, in an audit firm, there are several audit engagements. Now, these engagements are handled by engagement partner. I take it again. These engagements, these several engagements, they are handled by what? Engagement partners. So in some areas, like for the big four, you might have an engagement partner that handles more than one engagement. I take it again. In an audit firm, especially the big four, you might have an engagement partner that handles more than one engagement per time. So what that implies is that when he's setting out on a particular engagement, he delivers what? He gives tasks. He assigns responsibilities, he assigns tasks to all the engagement team members. Okay? So he will now be doing a follow-up to that engagement, to those tasks. Okay? And he will now go on to the next engagement, and that's how he continues for his engagement. Now, what we are seeing is this. For each of these particular engagements, the engagement partner is solely responsible for whatever happens in that particular engagement, regardless of the fact that he has delegated the responsibilities to the engagement manager or to the engagement to the audit senior or to the audit manager. He has that ultimate responsibility for that particular engagement. Now, what do I mean? He has ultimate responsibility for that particular engagement. He is not responsible for selecting and nominating all the staff that will constitute the engagement team. He has to ensure that he knows them and he knows their level of what? Competence. I hope that is clear. Then he has to be sure that he monitors what they do. So he'll be responsible for the engagement performance. How they go about the engagement, he has to monitor them. He might not be there physically, he can reach them remotely or virtually to be sure that they are still on point. Where there are issues, they need to watch, escalate to him, be able to deal with it. Okay? He has to be sure that they have the resources to carry out the engagement. Resources here means human resource. They have the competence, right? They have the IT resource, information technology resource. That is, they have the laptop. That they also have the necessary softwares uploaded on the laptops. Then they have the intellectual resource. Those are the tools, the documents that the audit firm will provide. All those, the working papers, the templates, the forms, the observation sheet, the checklist, the audit plan, the audit planning memorandum, all of those things. The audit firm will provide them with that document. That will form the what? Intellectual property, intellectual resource, intellectual property resource, or then something like that. Yeah. So it will be the one that is in charge. At the end of the day, it will be the one that is going to collate the report. It's going to be the one to express the audit opinion. So all of these are what you will be assigned to do. Okay? I hope we are together. So where there are issues, for instance, when they are done with the engagement and that engagement requires the service of engagement quality reviewer, it will be the one that will hand over the audit working papers and the draft audit report to the engagement quality reviewer. And where there are differences in the opinion, like I said, the engagement quality reviewer and the engagement partner supposed to arrive at the same conclusion. But sometimes they don't arrive at the same conclusion. So when they don't arrive at the same conclusion, what needs to be done is that they need to look at how to resolve the differences in their work, in their opinion. You need to look at how they resolve the differences in what, in their opinion. Now, what the law says is this, what the standard says is this. Where the differences arise in the opinion of the engagement quality reviewer and the engagement partner, they should follow what is stated in the firm's policies and procedures. The firm always have policies and procedures of how they resolve differences in opinion. So if the policies and procedure that is obtainable in the other firm states that where there are differences, the engagement partner opinion will supersede that of the engagement quality reviewer. That will be it. And if it's vice versa, that is, the engagement quality reviewer's opinion will supersede that of the engagement partner. That will be it. So what we need to understand in this first one is that the engagement partner plays a vital role in this particular quality management procedure. The engagement partner is responsible. I hope you get it. So that is the first one. Any question before we proceed? Any question, any comment, any observation before we proceed? I hope I'm not too fast now. I'm very slow, right? Any question? Any comment? Any observation? Please respond.
Moving on, sir.
I can move on. Thank you very much. So I will take that as everybody's view on what we are doing. So we go to the second one. The second procedure, I said there are two. Each individual audit engagement, and the second one, the audit firm as a whole. Now, in the audit firm as a whole, we are looking at what is obtainable in an audit firm. So what we are saying here is that in an audit firm, they must put in place what? A system of what? Quality control. Sorry, they need to put in place a system of what? Quality management, not quality control. Like I said, the quality control has been changed to quality management. So that is why in this second procedure, we are not making reference to ISQC. Rather, we are making reference to what? ISQM, International Standard on Quality Management. Okay? Like you have it, the International Standard on Quality Management replaced the former International Standard on Quality Control, number one. The new standard reflects a proactive, risk-based approach to quality, focusing on embedding quality into the firm's culture, governance, and what? Operations. So what we are saying here is that it is a risk-based approach to what? To putting in place quality management within the what? Audit firm. Okay? Now, what is the objective, or what are the objectives of the ISQM, International Standard on Quality Management? Number one, what are the objectives? Number one, it is expected to what? Or it is put in place, okay? It is put in place to design, implement, and operate a system of what? Quality management that provides the firm with reasonable assurance. The objective of this ISQM, the General Standard on Quality Management, is to design, implement, and operate a system of quality management, that provides the firm with reasonable assurance. So at the end of the day, this standard is to help the firm and its personnel to fulfill their responsibilities. This ISQM, the main objective is to ensure that they put in place a system of quality management that assists the firm to achieve their what? Their responsibilities. That's number one. Then number two, to ensure that the audit reports issued by the firm, they are what? Appropriate and comply with what? Standards and law. That they are what? The audit reports are what? Appropriate and comply with standards and laws. I hope that is clear. Now, when you talk about putting in place a system of quality management in an audit firm, there are 8 components that needs to be in place. I take it again. For you to put in place or to operate a system of quality management in an audit firm, the system of quality management must have 8 components. And these 8 components, right? These 8 components, I have a mnemonic for it. I have an abbreviation for it so that for easy memory and understanding. And the acronym for it is what? Great teeth. Great teeth. VERATTIT. Great teeth. VREATTIT. Great teeth. We'll get to that, don't worry. We'll get to that. The difference between ISQ M1 and ISQ M2. Let me just give you now before we get there. Now, ISQ M1, if you look at what we have here, if you look at what we explained, I said that what is ISQ1? ISQ1 is what? Quality management for audit firms that perform audit or reviews of financial statements or other assurance or related services engagement. Why ISQ2? ISQ2 is basically for what? Engagement quality reviews. It's basically for what? Engagement quality reviews. We're still going to talk more about it. Don't worry. When we get there, everything is there. All what your question, the answer is contained. We'll get there. Okay? Don't be anxious. We'll get there. Now I said that For you to have for you to put in place a system of quality management, you must have your system of quality management must have 8 components, and those 8 components have represented it with what? With an acronym known as what? Great TIT. GREATTIT. GREATTIT. Great TIT. Okay? So we look at them. The G stand for what? Governance and what? Leadership. The G stand for what? Governance and what? Leadership. What do we mean by governance and leadership? Now we talk about governance and leadership. What we are saying is that, or what we mean is that you need to ensure that there are structures within the what? Organization and within the audit firm. There are structures within the what? Within the audit firm. Now that structure should be such that every audit staff that work in the organization understands the culture. I mean the structure. Okay. So what that means is that, first of all, that governance will entail the importance of what? Observing professional ethics, values, and attitude. That is, they must imbibe those fundamental principles: independence, objectivity, all of those 7 fundamental principles. All the other staffs must imbibe them. Okay. Number 2, still under governance and leadership, is that they must ensure that all the staff are responsible and accountable for quality. That everybody, that quality is not excluded or is not specific to the managing partner. Everybody is responsible. It's everybody's business to ensure there's what? Quality in the performance of their what? Audit engagement. Okay? And that also, there should be that organizational structure, okay, that defines rules, responsibilities, and authority. There should be that organizational structure within the audit firm that assigns what? Rules, or defines rules, responsibilities, and what? Authority. And ultimately, right, under governance and leadership, is that all the resources that are required, including financial resources, okay, are allocated and assigned in a manner that is consistent with the firm's commitment to quality. And I said, ultimately, resources that are required within the audit firm are what? Are allocated or assigned in a manner that is consistent with the firm's commitment to what? Quality. I hope that is clear. I hope we are all clear. So, like I said, under the governance and leadership, it is also responsible for what? Setting the tone of quality. What do you want to achieve within the audit firm? Mind you, the quality we are referring to here is that the audit firm is able to perform their activities in such a way that the audit firm is not in any way exposed to any form of what? Liability or what? Negligence. That is, they conform with what? Established, laid down rules, guidelines by the what? By the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria in Nigeria. I mean, Chartered Accountants of Nigeria. I hope that is clear. The second one, R. The R there is what? Relevant ethical requirement. Now, for relevant ethical requirements, what we mean is that the firm should ensure that all the staff that work in an audit firm understand the importance of applying those relevant ethical requirements, those fundamental principles: integrity, objectivity, all of those 7 fundamental principles, that every member of staff can understand the importance of putting those things in place. All right. Also, They must ensure that they fulfill their responsibilities in relation to the relevant ethical requirements that apply to them. They must ensure they do what? They fulfill their responsibilities in relation to the relevant ethical requirements that apply to them. For instance, you want to go and audit a client now, you will have your opening meeting. That's before you set out to the client office. You have your opening meeting, you have your meeting where you are going to brief your engagement team on what information they need to be able to execute the tasks that have been assigned to them. For instance, you need to have what? Independence. Independence here means that you don't have any influence, you don't have any connection with the client that you are going to audit. Because if you have any form of relationship with them, especially when you have someone due, you have some form of relationship with them, it can lead to what we call a significant influence that's going to affect or impair the engagement that is being performed. Okay? That is being what? That is being performed. I hope you get it. Are we together? The next one, you know, I gave us an acronym. I'm going by that acronym. The next one is E. E that you have here is talking about what? Engagement performance. Engagement performance. So what this means is that it requires proper supervision, review, and documentation. It requires what? Proper supervision, review, and what? Documentation. What do we mean? So when you are going for an engagement, right, you must ensure that your team understands their responsibilities and they must fulfill it. Your team, engagement team, the engagement manager, the audit manager, audit senior, audit training, audit intern, they understand what their tasks are, what they're supposed to do. They must understand the nature, timing, and extent of direction and supervision of engagement team. They must give in time to execute the task. Oh, this your activity, this your task. You must conclude it within 3 hours. You must conclude it within 5 hours. You must conclude it within 24 hours. So that they will not leave it hanging. They must understand, they must appreciate time because audit is about time. So when you go to audit, you go to your client's office, you see that they mostly spend 3 weeks there. That 3 weeks is not enough, but they have to manage with it. You see that after they have spent 3 weeks in your office, they'll still go back to their audit firm and spend more time there before the draft audit report is presented. Okay? And when performing, when you talk about engagement performance, when you are performing your engagement, the engagement team must demonstrate what? Professional judgment where applicable. They must demonstrate what? Professional judgment. Means that they must be able to use their what? Their professional competence to evaluate situations. They must be able to use what? Their professional their competence and skills to evaluate situations. For instance, you requested for a document, they did not give it to you. You must be able to wait. What is the importance of that document? Why are they not giving it to you? Before you escalate to the engagement partner. And also in some instance, under engagement performance, you might need to carry out what we call what? Consultations. You might need to consult because you don't have it all. For the Big Four, they have a platform where when they are faced with issues on the field, they can escalate the matter to their technical committee where they will prefer solutions or they will prefer ways to resolving those challenges or those technical areas. And more importantly, where there are differences in the opinion, that is between the engagement quality reviewer and the engagement partner, right? Where there are conflicts or differences in opinion between the engagement partner and the engagement quality reviewer, right? They were able to resolve it amicably. They're able to what? Resolve it amicably. And how they resolve it, they're able to what? Document it. That is the E. We have talked about what? Governance and leadership. That is the first one. I have explained relevant ethical requirement. That is the R. The one I just finished explaining now is engagement performance. That is the E. I hope I'm not too fast now. Hope you are catching up. Please respond. Are we together?
Yes, sir.
We are together, sir. We are together,
Thank
sir.
you. The next one we are going to look at, I said with the acronym what? Great teeth. The next one we are looking at is what? A, acceptance and continuance of engagement. Acceptance and continuance of what? Engagement. So what that means? What does that mean? That is, firms should assess client integrity and risk before accepting or continuing an engagement. So for the mere fact that you are the one that audited a client last year, does not give you the assurance that you can be the one that will audit them this year. That is the essence why we said that your letter of engagement, your engagement letter, needs to be revised every year. You must have your audit engagement letter revised every year. The essence of it is to be able to ascertain whether you can still continue to audit this client. Okay? So you have in your audit, in your firm, you have your existing clients. Those are the old clients that are already with you. And because in Burna Boy's song that says that Dangote is still finding money. That is, because you have existing clients doesn't mean that you should relax. Even Coca-Cola, the world favorite drink, Coca-Cola, they still run adverts till tomorrow as though they are not satisfied with the money they have already made. So audit firms too, they are not excluded. They also need to prospect for new clients. So when prospecting for new clients, they must ensure that they carry out due diligence on that new client to know who are the owners of the company, who are the promoters of the company, what is the source of their revenue. Okay? Are they into unlawful activities like money laundering? Okay? They must be certain that the corp of management of that prospective client, they are what? They have integrity. They have a name to protect. Okay? All of these are what must be done within the audit firm. They must put in place a system of quality management that addresses these aspects. I hope we are together. So we continue. We have just explained the A. The T, the first T we want to talk about now. I'm coming. The first T we want to talk about now is yes, you have a question. Please go ahead.
So this
Come ask your
system,
question.
this system they put in place, is it put in writing or is it a policy that is written on a pen and black and white? I don't understand.
They need to put it, is a policy that they need to put in place. Is a policy that they need to do what? Put in place. Do you understand? Is a policy that they need to what? They need to put in place. Is that clear? All right. So the next one we want to look at now is the first T. And the first T is what? The firm's risk assessment process. The firm's risk assessment process. Have you gotten it? The firm's risk assessment process. Are we there? The firm's risk assessment process. That is the next one, okay? Now, what do we mean by that? Now, in putting in place the, what do we call, the firm's risk assessment process, right? The audit firm needs to have a policy, okay? They need to develop policy that ensures that they are able to what? Define their quality objective. They need to be able to do what? Define their what? Quality objective. That is, what does the audit firm, what do they stand for? What do the audit firm stand for? All right? What do the audit firm stand for? You need to be able to make that assessment, okay? You need to put that in place, all right? You need to put that in place. Now, they also need to be able to explain, right, who is responsible, who is ultimately responsible for all the activities that occur within the audit firm. And you know that all the activities that occur within the audit firm rest with what? Rest with the managing partners. Okay? The ultimate responsibility rests with what? The managing partners. Okay? Then it also means that they must be able to ensure, right? They must be able to ensure that the audit firm, they have put in place a risk assessment process, a risk assessment process that ensures a risk assessment process that ensures the firm is not exposed in any way to any form of what? Liability or what? Negligence. All right? Any form of what? Liability or what? Negligence. All right? Then, more importantly, in putting in place risk assessment process, they must ensure that all the type of engagement performed by the firm, they must ensure that the type of engagement performed by the firm, that the personnel or the staff that perform this engagement, they have a good understanding of that engagement. Because you cannot audit what you don't understand. They must ensure that the audit staff that performs this engagement, they have a good understanding of that engagement that's being performed by the firm. Okay? And they must ensure that before they take on any engagement, they have an understanding of the type of entities for which such engagements are undertaken. Before they take up any engagement, they have an understanding of the type of entities for which such engagements are undertaken. They have a type, they have an understanding of the type of entities for which engagement they are what they are undertaking. For instance, you should know the engagement that relates to PLC. You know the engagement that relates to what? Review engagement. All of that you need to know. All right? Hope we are together. So the next one we want to look at now. We have looked at the what's it called? The T, the T. That is the great that's the great T's that I mentioned, right? Be able to look at that. The next one I want to look at now is the monitoring and remediation process. The monitoring and remediation process. Okay? The monitoring and what? Remediation process. That's the next T now, the first T now. After the great, the next T, that T that you have here, the monitoring and remediation process. All right? The monitoring and remediation process. What does it mean? So what that means is that this is it here, the remediation process, okay? What that means is that as you embark on the engagement, there should be policies in place, okay? There should be policies in place that ensures that the other staff that are embarking on that engagement, that are carrying out that engagement, they are able to do the needful. Needful in the sense that they don't deviate from the expected time to deliver on the audit report. For instance, you set out that you are going to deliver the audit report within 3 weeks or within 2 months. So you must ensure that you deliver that report within 2 months. Okay? You must ensure that you deliver that report within what? 2 months. That is monitoring. Okay? Then when there are issues, for instance, maybe there are some challenges that the engagement team encountered during the engagement, all of those issues must be escalated to the appropriate authorities on a timely basis. Okay, they must be extradited to the appropriate authorities on a what? On a timely basis. All right. Then they must also ensure that the design of the firm's risk assessment process and monitoring remediation process, they must have in place a risk assessment process. Okay, there should be a risk assessment process. Remember, in your CSME, for those of you that go CSME before it was changed to financial management, we said that we have risk management. Okay, and for you to be able to manage your risk management, you must be able to identify your risk, be able to assess your risk, then be able to what? Manage your risk. Assess or manage your risk, be able to put in place mitigation. Okay? What if analysis, what if scenarios, those things that needed to be done. And ultimately, at the end of the day, you're going to write a report. So your risk assessment process must be managed, must be monitored, because the risk that you classify as a low risk now might turn out to be a high risk in a few months' time. So you need to place close attention on those risks. Okay? You need to place close attention on those risks. So that's what you mean by the monitoring and remediation process. Okay. The next one is I. The I you have there. The I you have there is information and communication. The I you have there is what? The communication and what? Information and what? Communication. So what that implies is that there should be, they should establish the quality objective. Okay, that is the audit firm should establish the quality objective that address, or quality objectives that address obtaining, the quality objective that address obtaining, generating, and using information. I hope I'm not too fast. The audit firm should establish quality objectives that address obtaining, generating, and using information regarding the system of quality management. Using information regarding what? System of quality management, and communicating the information within the firm, communicating that information within the firm, and sometimes to external parties, and sometimes to external parties, on a timely basis, and sometimes to external parties on a timely basis to enable, in order to enable the design, and that's why I'm very slow now. Design, implementation, in order to enable the design, implementation and operation of a system of quality management. To enable the design, implementation, and operation of what? Of a system management. Of what? Of a system management. Okay? Of a system what? Management. Of a system management. Of a system management. Are we there? Are we there?
Yes, sir, we are there, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The last one, the resources. The last one, the resources. Great teeth, the resources. I hope we are together. The first one is what? Governance and leadership. The next one is what?
Relevant
Relevant ethical requirement. Thank you. The next one is what?
Engagement
performance.
Thank you. The next one is what?
Acceptance
and continuance of engagement.
Thank you very much. The next one is what?
The firm's
firm
risk assessment process.
Thank you. Then the next one is what?
The monitoring and remediation process.
Thank you. Thank you. That means everybody together. The next one is what?
Information and
Information
communication.
and
Thank you.
communication.
Thank you. So the last T is now what? The resources.
The
The
resources.
resources.
The last one is what? The resources. Okay? Can we continue? Let's continue. So the resources focuses on 3 areas. Okay? It focuses on sufficient and competent personnel. Personnel here means human resource. Okay? It focuses on what? Sufficient and competent personnel. Personnel here means what? Human resource. That's number 1 under resources. It also means the provision of what? Tools. Tools here means laptop. Tools here means what? Laptops and software, CAT, computer assisted audit techniques that the auditors will use. Tools here means what? Laptops or systems that the auditor will use that has already been enabled with what? CAT, computer assisted audit techniques. Okay, computer assisted audit techniques. Computer assisted audit techniques. And the last one of that resources is what? Intellectual property. Intellectual property. Intellectual property. Intellectual property. All right. So, by intellectual property, every audit firm, they have their documentation, the style of documentation. Their audit working paper, for instance, you go to KPMG now, you see their own KPMG audit working paper, KPMG checklist, KPMG audit plan, KPMG audit plan memorandum, KPMG TikTok, all of those things, you have their documents like that. If you go to S and Young, they have their documents like that. So that documentation that is peculiar to an audit firm can be regarded as what? The intellectual property. Those documentation that are peculiar to an audit firm, those documentation that are peculiar to an audit firm can be regarded as what? Intellectual property. Can be regarded as what? The intellectual what? Property. I hope we are together.
Together.
Thank you. So that will be termed as what? The intellectual what? Property. Okay? So another thing that also form part of intellectual property, after you have put in place a system of quality management, after putting in place a system of quality management, after putting in place a system of quality management, after putting in place a system of quality management, that system becomes the intellectual property of the firm. That system you have put in place, system of quality management, becomes the intellectual property of the audit firm. That system put in place becomes what? The intellectual property of what? Of the audit firm. I hope we are together. Are we together?
We are together, sir.
So when you talk about risk-based approach of ISQN, International Standard of Quality Management number 1, this is what we mean. The audit firm must establish quality objectives. They must establish quality objective. Okay? They must identify and assess quality risk. They must identify and assess quality risk. They must design and implement responses to mitigating this risk. They must design and implement responses to mitigate this risk. And lastly, they must monitor the system and take remedial action where necessary. They must monitor the system and take remedial action when necessary. For instance, if a firm identifies a risk of insufficient staff training, if you implement periodic training and performance evaluation, if the firm identifies that some of their staff are not properly trained, what should they do? They should implement periodic training and performance evaluation to be sure that they were able to address this risk. Okay? The next one, design, implementation, and operation. Design, implementation, and what? Operation. So the ISQL you design, you must design it to suit the firm's size, engagement, and legal environment. Your ISQL should be what? Tailored specifically to your what? Audit firm. In terms of what? Size, the size of the audit firm, the engagement you perform, and the legal environment that is obtainable. I hope that is clear. When you're implementing your system of quality management, you must ensure you communicate the policies. Those qualities that those quality system of quality management that you have developed, you must communicate it. Any policy that you have developed, you have not communicated, it's as good as not done. And after you have communicated it, you must train them on how to implement them. Policy, sometimes you get to see the weaknesses or the challenges during implementation. When you are drafting it, there will not be any challenge. But when you start implementation, the challenges will pop up. So you must ensure you put that in place. Then in operation, you must maintain and enforce process across the firm. You must ensure that everybody that works within the firm understands and utilizes this system of quality management. Okay? So documentation requirements. Now, for you to have in place a system of quality management, these are the documents that you must put in place. You must have what? Quality objective, the risk, and responses. You must have what? Quality objective, the risk, and the what? The responses. That is, how do you want to address those risks? An example of that risk is what we just explained now. Staff training, weakness in staff training. Okay? You must monitor activities and remedial action. You must monitor activities and what? Remedial action. Okay? You must monitor activities and what? Remedial action. Then, when you are done with your engagement, how you arrive at your conclusion, you must state it. When you are done with any engagement, you must state how you arrive at your what? Conclusion. And on a regular basis, you must update your system. And on a regular basis, you must update your system. That's what we call it continual improvement. You cannot leave it the way it is. Like the advanced countries, what we are experiencing in Nigeria today, they have experienced it in 17th century or 18th century. But if they had remained in that way, all of us that are traveling overseas will not have had the opportunity to travel overseas. But what have they done? They have improved on their what? On their systems. And that's why what is obtainable in previous years now, they're no longer obtainable. That is where it has now become the choice, the place of choice for most of us that we want to relocate to permanently. So Mr. Kayode Akinbowale, ask your question, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. So my maybe is a question of observation. Now, I noticed we were coming from components of system of quality management, and then we talked about the great teeth, and then from that great teeth that we spoke or discussed, I noticed that the subtopic, I don't know if it was a subtopic or a point that we jumped in, that talks about risk before design. So I'm just curious, this subsection 3, subsection 4, the risk-based approach,
Yes.
is it talking about, okay, maybe the components of SQM1 and talking about design? I mean, like, okay, this is, I mean, I want to understand what this point 3, point 4, point 5, because it's going to a point 6 now. I want to understand what those are referring to.
Okay. Thank you very much. All of what we have discussed, I first mentioned the components. What in your system of quality management, what are those things that must be there? Those are the components that we discussed. That's great teeth, right? That one is clear. Now, still part of putting in place your system of quality management is this one that I made mention of, how to design it. The design of your system of quality management, the implementation of quality management, the operation of your quality management is still part of it. Then, if you go, as we went further, we also went to look at what are the documents that are required in your system of quality management. And we discussed the quality objective. We talk about the risk and responses. We look at how to monitor activities and remedial actions, how you arrive at your conclusion at the end of each engagement, then the need for you to ensure there's regular updates to the system. All of these are tailored towards having what we call a robust system of quality management. All of them, they are together. I hope it's clear, or do you need further explanation?
Yeah, it's clear. Maybe a further question before I go to my last question.
Yeah.
Now, a further question would be that if I can may want to test our understanding on this particular session, how will they test it in such a way that we understand that what is required of us is to mention both the components, the risk inherent,
Right.
implementation design, and all that.
Now, first of all, right, I'm not an examiner, okay? But that does not um, exclude me answering your question, because like I said, I've been in this practice for doing this business for over 7 years. And from the trajectory of ICAN questions, even though they have not tested ISQN before, the one they've tested before are the ISA 220 and ISQC number 1. So you have to test ISQM number 1 or ISQM number 2. It has to be specific. So for ISQM number 1, are the components of a system of quality management. If they ask you questions on a system of quality management, then all those 8, the great teeth, is what you are going to list and explain. If they ask you, how do you ensure that you have put in place a system, a robust system of quality management, then that means that you have to go further. After you have explained the component, this component, you have to talk about the design, implementation, and operation. You have to talk about the documentation requirement. You have to talk about the scalability of your scalability of how you intend to ensure that your system of quality management remains relevant to the organization relevant to the audit firm, because the audit firm can grow from a small, medium audit firm to a second-tier audit firm, or even possibly to becoming the big 5 as against the big 4. So it can be in any of these directions. But one thing you need to note here is that they're going to ask you questions that relates to this chapter 5. They have to be specific. And I've given you the specifics to this chapter. I hope I'm able to answer your question, Mr. Kayode.
Yes, I got you. Very clear. The last question perhaps is on the great teeth, right? There are points that are a point like relevant to ethical requirements. And then there are points around acceptance and continuation of engagement. Okay, I still have it on my head. Yeah. So now, is it possible to paraphrase? I know that having the R, yes, helps me to remember that, there is one ethical requirement. But like acceptance, for example, if I can't remember continuation, can I just say acceptance of engagement and still explain the context?
I didn't get you.
I mean,
you can't remember what?
I mean, if I'm trying to regurgitate this point, and I'm trying to just, I remember A, acceptance, but I can't remember continuation. Can I just paraphrase as acceptance of engagement and then explain my context?
No, that is why I gave you this, what's it called? These mnemonics. What you do, if you explain, well, so let's say the marks for that one, let's assume the marks for that particular question is 10. And you're able to list all the other ones, except for this one, acceptance. Instead of you to put acceptance and continuance of engagement, put acceptance of engagement. Let's say what you have, and you're able to explain your points. Let's say they're supposed to give you 15 marks, right? The total marks awarded for that question is 15. You might end up having like 8 or 9 or even 10. If the examiner is magnanimous, you might get maybe 12. But it's still better than you not putting it's still better than you not putting anything in place. Do you understand what I'm saying? You have rephrased it, you have paraphrased it, but it's still better than you not putting it there. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Got you, sir. Thank you.
All right. All right. Any other question? Any question? Any comment? Are we together? Hello, class.
We
Are
are
we
together,
together?
sir.
Yes, we're together.
We are listening to you, sir.
Okay. So, yeah, I appreciate all the questions that have been asked. But I'm looking at the way this thing, you can see that I'm scrolling down. We still have some other things to cover. So we are going to stop here for today. I appreciate all your questions, right? I appreciate, because if you don't ask questions, I will not know whether you are following or you understand. But I can see from the responses, from the questions, I can conclude, I can confidently say that everybody is carried along in this chapter, and that is very, very good. So we are going to stop here for today because the lecture time is 11 to 1 and the time is already past 1. So the class is hereby adjourned. I will
So, sir,
continue from,
sorry, sir. The
no
last
problem.
point for that ISQM1, the
Mm.
scalability, is this one. You are
This
about
is
to
where we are going
explain.
to start next class, scalability of ISQM. That's where we are going to start from.
Okay, fine.
Do you understand?
Sir, hello, sir. Sir,
Yes,
hello,
please
sir.
go ahead. Please go ahead.
Sir, sir, if you want to answer a question on this thing, sorry, are we to
Mm.
quote like ISQ1? Are we to quote that?
I have said this and I'm going to say it again. It is important for you to be able to quote. It's at this level, you should be able to quote. But where you cannot quote, right, is you are safer when you say according to the auditing standard and say what you want to say. If you quote and you quote the wrong sections of that standard, for instance, you want to mention, you are talking about ISQM number 2. That's what you want to make mention of, but you cited ISQM number 1. Whatever you have put there is going to be marked wrongly. So you understand what I'm saying? So for safe
Yes, sir.
haven, for safe haven, if you cannot remember the standard, just say according to auditing standard, believing that whatever you are going to put down can be understood by the examiner. Do you get it? You are better off
Yes,
than
sir.
you citing, you are better than you citing the wrong thing. Well, maybe the question addresses ISQM number 1. Okay? The question addresses ISQM number 1, but you have the answer to ISQM number 1. But because of the examination environment, you now try to put ISQM number 2. And you now state the points for ISQM number 1. The examiner will mark you wrong. So to avoid this kind of mistakes, just say according to auditing standard and write whatever you want to say, provided what you are putting down contains what? Substance. Okay? Hope I'll be able to answer your question, Mr. Kayode. I mean, Mr. Olamide. Who asked the question?
Yes, I do, sir. Yeah, I got your answer, sir. I got it, sir.
All right, thank you. Any other question? Any other comments? When is the deadline for your assignment? I will not give any deadline. My own is that I will give the assignment. Okay? Let me share an experience with you before we round up the class. Last night, I had a student in this online class. The students, when I give assignment, they don't do it. And like I said, it's not my point. It's not my point to stress it that you must do it. Guess what? When the exam was 2 days to go, the students started disturbing me that the assignment, we have not been doing it. Can you do it now? I said, do it now. And luckily for me, for those that have been doing the assignment, I've been sending solutions to them. These students troubled me so much that I just prayed that this student pass this paper. I was just praying in my mind. When the result came out, this guy, guess what he told me? He told me that he didn't even tell me immediately because I put on a platform that share your results with me. The student did not answer. He don't answer. A week after the result came out, he now chatted me privately. I said, thank you for your support to I passed this paper, even for your efforts. Where would I have found myself? That he had 57 and he qualified. That was the only paper that I was waiting for. So, like I said, it's for your own good if you do the assignment. For those that have been doing assignments, they can testify that I've been responding to them. So that is just it. So it's for your own good. So on that note, we have put the class, we have adjourn the class till next time. We're starting with scalability of ISQL. Okay? So enjoy your weekend. Thank you so much for your time.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, go ahead.
You're
Want to ask
welcome,
a
sir.
question?
Prepare the assignment. I just joined the class today, so
You just joined
I
the
have
class
no
today.
idea.
Yeah, all
Yes.
the assignments, you have the recording of the previous one now. Just listen to the recording and listen to the recording. Then you just join the class today. Okay, I'll see what I can do if I can share the questions on the platform.
Okay, thank
Because
you.
of you, not because of anybody, because of you. They're just
Thank
going
you,
to
sir.
go. All right. Enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you so much for your time.